The dust from the dirt road settled slowly as dusk draped the small village of Akulu in an amber glow. Old palm fronds whispered tales of the legendary black mamba that, according to local lore, could slither from beyond the grave to avenge ancestral wrongs. Villagers gathered around flickering lanterns each night, recounting how the serpent's hiss heralded doom, and some claimed they heard it just before old Udo collapsed in his hut, dead of what looked like a snake bite. Fear shivered through every home. The village headman, Chief Ease, called an emergency meeting, urging caution and rituals to placate the restless spirits. Yet beneath the superstitions, a more unsettling question gnawed. Was this truly supernatural or something altogether human? When a second body was discovered by the cassava fields, 2 puncture wounds but no fang marks, the fear sharpened into panic. Mothers clutched their children, farmers abandoned their tools. Even the most devout curer, Mama confessed that no ritual she performed could awaken the dead. Whispers spread of a lurking killer who, unlike any snake, struck without warning. As the night deepened, the wind carried a single chilling hiss that seemed to echo from every shadow. Unseen eyes watched from the forest's edge, and somewhere beyond the torchlight, a calculated plan continued to coil closer to its prey. At dawn, the hush over Akulu was shattered by shrieks from the granary. A young laborer, Emeka, stumbled into the clearing, blood staining his neck and shirt. Villagers rushed to his aid only to watch him take a final, rattling gasp before falling silent. 2 neat punctures, too precise for any wild snake, marked the fatal wound. Panic rippled through the crowd. A black mamba curse had claimed its third victim, or so they believed. Chief Ease ordered the granary doors sealed and summoned the local spiritual council to perform the snake dream ritual, hoping the spirits might reveal a way to stop the bloodshed. But in the midst of fear and superstition arrived Dr. Ifeoma Adebayo, a visiting physician from the city hospital. Stern and inquisitive, she refused to bow to legend. She examined Emeka's corpse, noting the absence of fang impressions and the rapid onset of necrosis around the puncture site. "This isn't envenomation by a wild snake," she murmured, eyes narrowing at the odd chemical residue on her latex gloves. Murmurs rose among the villagers. Was she challenging the sacred curse itself? Yet beneath her calm exterior, Ifeoma sensed a human hand guiding death's serpentine dance, and vowed to uncover the truth no matter how deeply it was buried. Dr. Adebayo set up a makeshift laboratory in the abandoned schoolhouse at the village edge, unpacking glass vials and her portable centrifuge. She worked under the dim glow of an oil lamp, cataloging tissue samples and blood residue from the 3 victims. While the villagers prayed and wailed in the central square, Ifeoma's scientific mind raced through differential diagnoses. No known snake venom matched the toxicity she observed. When she injected a small quantity of the sample into a lab mouse, its rapid paralysis within minutes confirmed her worst suspicion. Synthesized venom, tailor-made and unnaturally potent. Word of the doctor's experiment spread like wildfire, drawing both awe and hostility. A group of masked elders arrived, chanting for her to cease desecrating sacred remains, but she stood her ground. "If you believe in your curse," she said, voice calm yet firm, "let us show you how easily superstition can mask human cruelty." Some villagers frowned. Others nodded in relief that someone dared question the terrifying legend. Gentle footsteps echoed behind her, Mama Nkechi offering kola nuts. "May your science guide us," the herbalist whispered. For the first time, the line between myth and malice trembled uncertainly in the dusty lamplight. Night brought thunderclouds and with it a 4th death. The body of Chinyere, the village chief's niece, lay at the riverbank, her face frozen in terror. 2 slender marks glistened on her neck, and a single black mamba scale lay unnaturally pristine beside her. Villagers howled that the serpent spirit had grown restless, punishing any who dared oppose tradition. Some accused Dr. Adebayo of angering the ancestors. Fires were lit around her lab and torch-bearing men demanded she leave before more blood was spilled. But Ifeoma refused to back down. She retrieved Chinyere's sample, careful to avoid the thorny eyes watching her from the darkness. Under the microscope she spotted minute imperfections in the fang-like punctures, too symmetrical to be natural. The venom's molecular signature, still vibrating in the vial, bore traces of a biochemical stabilizer she recognized from advanced laboratories. This wasn't random superstition. It was a deliberate act, engineered by someone with both the knowledge and motive to instill terror. As lightning fractured the sky, Ifeoma made a silent vow to unmask the murderer before another life was claimed in the name of an ancient curse. By midday, Chief Ease granted Ifeoma permission to search property records in the old council hall. Dusty ledgers revealed that a sprawling tract of ancestral land lay just beyond the northern forest. Land now at the center of a bitter inheritance dispute between the chief's family and a distant relative, Mr. Okoro. Ifeoma's pulse quickened when she discovered that Okoro had recently sponsored a new anti-venom clinic here, donating expensive equipment far beyond his means. Was this generosity, or a smokescreen? That evening she confronted Okoro in his lantern-lit veranda. He smiled with practiced charm, pouring cola from a polished gourd. "I only wish to help my people," he said. Yet when Ifeoma mentioned the synthesized venom, his smile faltered. She pressed him on the clinic's funding, his connections to snakebite research, and the chemical distributors in the city. Okoro's jaw tightened, but he deflected with talk of curses and spirits. As he turned away, Ifeoma spotted a small vial tucked into his pocket, its amber liquid unmistakably venomous. The pieces clicked into place. Someone was weaponizing fear to seize property, and the next bloodletting would seal the deal. That night, the village thrummed with tension. Ritual drums pounded as Mama Nkechi led a snake dream ceremony in the square, her chants rising to the thunder-riven sky. But for once, fear turned inward. Villagers eyed one another, wary that the curse might be a guise for human treachery. Dr. Adebayo slipped between the throng, noting furtive glances and whispered exchanges. Her medical bag thumped against her side, loaded with test vials and her late father's bloodhound, Lucy, trained to sniff out chemical residues. Suddenly, Lucy froze at the edge of the square, nose quivering toward the forest path. Ifeoma followed, finding shattered glass and a discarded lab notebook half buried under leaves. The notebook's pages sketched detailed protocols for synthesizing and stabilizing venom, a modern grimoire for murder. She gathered the pages and raced back to the lab, heart pounding. The curse was alive only so long as the killer remained hidden. Now, in a single torn notebook, the mask began to slip, revealing the shape of a cold, calculating mind. The next morning, Ifeoma presented her evidence to Chief Ease and the elders. Ink-stained pages detailed chemical formulas alongside ancient incantations, a twisted marriage of science and superstition. Gasps echoed in the council hall. Ease's voice thundered, "Who among us dares betray this land?" All eyes turned to Mr. Okoro, seated with a calm facade. He leapt to his feet, voice rising in indignation. "I have given everything to this village." But the water stains on the notebook suggested it had been hidden in the forest's undergrowth, near the disputed land. Okoro's shoulders sagged as Ifeoma revealed laboratory results. The synthesized venom contained a proprietary enzyme only available through a specific pharmaceutical supplier. She named dates and invoices. The villagers murmured, Okoro's supporters slunk back. Cornered, he spat curses, invoking the black Mamba spirit in frantic defense. Yet the council's verdict came swift. His clinic was shut, and his land sealed pending investigation. As Okoro was led away, his eyes burned with resentment, and Ifeoma realized that unmasking the murderer was only the beginning of a deeper conflict over tradition, power, and blood. A sudden disappearance shook Akulu. The local chemist, an elderly man who had supplied Okoro's lab materials, vanished without a trace. His home was untouched, save for a single black Mamba scale placed ominously on his threshold. Villagers whispered that the serpent spirit demanded vengeance for exposing its followers. But Ifeoma suspected foul play. Someone was tying loose ends, silencing witnesses. She pressed Chief Ease for permission to track down the chemist, and the chief reluctantly agreed, warning her of the forest's hidden dangers. Armed with her medical kit and accompanied by 2 trusted guards, Ifeoma ventured into the dense woodlands. Birds scolded overhead as twisted roots threatened each step. Near an abandoned shrine she found the chemist's satchel, empty. Sweat trickled down her temple when she noticed fresh tire tracks in the mud, leading to a concealed clearing. There, under a camouflaged tarp, sat rows of dusty glassware and vials labeled with the same enzyme codes. The killer had built a secret laboratory here, and whoever operated it wouldn't hesitate to strike at anyone who got too close. Back in her makeshift lab, Ifeoma analyzed soil samples from the clearing. They contained traces of sedative compounds used in tranquilizer darts, another tool in the killer's arsenal. She tested the suspect enzyme against blood samples from the victims and found a unique marker, a synthetic stabilizer named PHX-9, patented by a biotech firm in Lagos. Her heart sank. This was no local grudge. It was an elaborate operation funded by someone with city connections and deep pockets. Late that night, she received an anonymous note slid under her door, "Stop digging or become the next victim." The paper bore a single, perfect Fang mark in black ink. Anger and fear warred inside her chest. She considered leaving, but memories of the innocent lives lost steeled her resolve. The curse had been a convenient veil. Beneath it lay a plot to seize land through terror. Ifeoma set her vial of Pjx-9 aside, donned a leather jacket, and prepared to confront the modern alchemy that had twisted a simple legend into a weapon of death. With assistance from a distant colleague at the Lagos biotech firm, Ifeoma traced the Pjx-9 supply chain to a clandestine distributor known only as the Serpent. No address, no formal records, perfect anonymity. She realized that to unmask the Serpent she would need to bait a response. Crafting a false vial labeled with a different enzyme code, she arranged for it to be lost near Okoro's seized clinic. Within hours, a figure in a snake-patterned raincoat was seen rifling through the debris under cover of darkness. Armed guards cornered the figure at the forest's edge, revealing the village's own apothecary, Brother Chibik, a trusted spiritual advisor. His hands trembled as he admitted to orchestrating the killings, believing it would cement his position in the village and allow him to broker a more lucrative land sale with outside investors. His voice cracked as he recounted mixing superstitious fear with biochemical terror to control the chief and seize ancestral estates. When asked why use synthesized venom instead of actual snakes, he whispered, "Precision. Control. No risk of being bitten myself." Brother Chibik's confession rippled through Akulu like a thunderclap. At the public gathering in front of Chief Iza's courtyard, he detailed every calculated move, sourcing Pjx-9, forging Fang marks, planting serpent scales, and murdering dissenters to silence them. Villagers gasped that a man of God, once revered for his healing chants, could become the serpent incarnate of human greed. Chief Iza's face darkened. Tradition had been perverted by one of their own. But Chibik refused remorse. "I did it for progress," he snarled. "This land is wasted on these superstitions." Just then, a hooded figure lunged from the crowd, striking him with a machete. Chaos erupted as Ifeoma pushed through, shouting for order. The attacker was the chemist who had disappeared. He had been forced into hiding, then retaliated when Chibik betrayed him. As dawn broke, two killers lay exposed. One biochemical, one visceral. And the villagers, stunned and weary, faced the daunting task of healing wounds far deeper than Fang punctures. In the aftermath, Dr. Adebayo organized a series of community forums to dispel fear and restore trust. Under the broad shade of the ancient Irako tree, she explained how the venom had been synthesized to prey on old legends. She demonstrated how Fang marks could be forged, and how chemical stabilizers lent the toxin unnatural potency. Mothers and fathers listened, some with tears, others with incredulous expressions. For many, it was the first time science pierced the veil of superstition. Chief Iz humbly apologized for endorsing rituals that had sheltered the murderer, and Mama Nkechi led a cleansing ceremony to bring comfort to grieving families. The chemist, his scars of guilt raw, worked beside Ifeoma to dismantle the hidden lab, ensuring no trace of Pjx-9 remained in Akulu. Slowly, hope stirred among the villagers. They began to reclaim their fields, share harvest tales instead of horror stories, and weave new legends, one celebrating resilience over revenge. Weeks later, the land dispute was adjudicated fairly. Okoro's claim was nullified due to his indirect involvement in funding Chibik's scheme, while Chief Iza's family officially deeded a portion of the ancestral land to the village as communal pasture. A bronze plaque was erected at the forest's edge, commemorating those lost and warning future generations of the perils when greed and myth entwine. Dr. Adebayo stood before it, her white coat stained with ink and soil, reflecting on how close Akulu came to being swallowed by fear. In private, she received a letter from her Lagos colleague. The biotech firm had tightened controls on Pjx-9 distribution, citing the Akulu murders as a wake-up call. Her research would inform new regulations to prevent venom weaponization worldwide. For a skeptical doctor from the city, this rural crisis became a catalyst for change far beyond the dusty roads of Akulu. As the rainy season approached, Akulu's rhythms returned. Children chased goats across the sunrise-drenched fields, fishermen mended nets by the river, and the smell of roasted yams drifted through the air. Dr. Adebayo's makeshift lab was replaced by a permanent clinic funded by the Regional Health Board, ensuring accessible care and venom antidotes for genuine snakebite victims. Villagers christened it the Serpent's End Clinic, a wry reminder of how science and solidarity had broken the curse. One evening, beneath the starlit sky, Ifeoma walked the forest path alone, recalling the hiss she first heard on that fateful night. The wind sighed through the trees, but there was no malice in its whisper, only the promise of renewal. In the clearing where Chibik's lab once stood, wildflowers bloomed, and a lone black mamba slithered harmlessly into the underbrush. The true curse had been human ambition. The legend was healed by truth and the land finally at peace. Months later, a conference convened in Lagos to address emerging biochemical threats. Dr. Adebayo presented her findings on the synthesized venom, her voice steady as she recounted Akulu's ordeal. News reporters peppered her with questions about the ethics of biotech, the intersection of tradition and science, and how rural communities could be protected. Headlines blared, "Doctor unmasks deadly lab under curse of the Black Mamba." Her research sparked nationwide reforms in pharmaceutical tracking and rural health outreach. Back in Akulu, villagers gathered around a wooden bench carved with entwined serpents and hands, a symbol of their unity. They invited Ifeoma to dedicate it alongside Chief Ease and Mama Nkechi. As she placed a hand on the bench, she felt the weight of lives lost and saved converge into a single profound truth. Knowledge shared with compassion could slay the darkest of legends. Despite the clinic's success, Ifeoma sensed lingering unease when she visited Chinyer's family. They spoke of dreams, visions of a hooded figure blending snake and human flesh, wandering fields at midnight. Recognizing trauma's shadows, she organized nighttime patrols with local volunteers, ensuring no one felt alone in the darkness. Torchlight pierced the night, and together they walked the same paths once haunted by fear, reclaiming them step by cautious step. Under a crescent moon, the patrol discovered fresh snake tracks near the riverbank, but this time, Amaka tracked them to a harmless colony of rat snakes. Laughter rippled through the group as they realized how easily primal dread could distort reality. In that moment, the real healing began, not just of bodies but of minds liberated from the curse's grip. On the anniversary of the first murder, Akulu held a festival blending ancestral music with modern storytelling. Drummers pounded rhythms alongside town criers recounting Ifeoma's investigations. Children reenacted scenes from Chibik's lab, minus the violence, wearing brightly painted snake costumes while the audience cheered. The festival culminated in a lantern release, each flame symbolizing a life reclaimed from darkness. As Ifeoma released her lantern, she whispered a vow, to stand at the crossroads of science and tradition wherever fear sought to divide. The lantern floated upward, merging with dozens of others until only stars twinkled above. In Akulu's open sky, the legend of the Black Mamba found a new chapter, one of courage, community, and the power of truth over terror. Life in Akulu settled into a hopeful routine. The community garden flourished under the care of grieving families who had once been too afraid to till the soil. Mama Nkechi taught herbalists to work alongside medical staff, blending remedies for genuine healing rather than superstition. Chief Ease led monthly town halls where villagers voiced concerns and shared ideas, embodying a restored trust in leadership. Dr. Adebayo received word of another village grappling with similar rumors of venomous curses. Packing her bag, she prepared to journey once more, armed with tests, antidotes, and the hard-earned wisdom that behind every legend could lie a human heart twisted by greed. As dawn broke over Akulu's rooftops, she felt ready to chase down truth wherever myths threatened to kill. On her final night in Akulu, Ifeoma walked past the clinic's lit windows, hearing the soft hum of generators and the murmur of patients. She paused by the memorial plaque in the courtyard, fingers tracing the engraved names of the 4 victims. A gentle breeze rustled the palm fronds overhead, as though in collective remembrance. She knelt before the plaque, offering a silent prayer for those lost to fear and those who had reclaimed their lives. Then, under the soft lamplight, a procession formed. Chief Ease, Mama Nkechi, villagers and children bearing gifts of kola nuts and woven baskets. They urged her to stay, offering to build her a permanent home beside the clinic. Tears pricked Ifeoma's eyes as she realized how deeply she had come to belong. But duty called her beyond Akulu. With hugs and blessings, she promised to return, leaving behind a village transformed by knowledge, unity, and the unbreakable courage to face curses, ancient or modern, together. Months later, Dr. Ifeoma Adebayo stood at the edge of a different village, cradling her medical bag and the memories of Akulu's journey. The wind carried distant drums and the faintest echo of hisses, reminders that legends endure. Children pointed and whispered as she approached, curious eyes shining. She smiled, recalling how science had demystified fear, how community had dispelled shadows, and how a few determined souls had unmasked a murderer hiding behind myth. As dawn's first light washed over the horizon, she inhaled the promise of new beginnings. Somewhere in the world, another ancient curse awaited exposure. Turning toward the village gate, Dr. Adebayo stepped forward resolutely, ready to uncover the truth and deliver hope, one legend at a time.